I am humanity, and I'm here to say that you can be a narcissist and imagine that you are separate from everybody else. You live in your own little bubble of fear. Is what it is, and so you can do that, but there is the reality of reality, and there's the truth. And I had something more funny to say. It just escaped me. Yeah, what will be happening is more of the truth will come forth about just a possibility, you see, and then I don't know, just the movement to move forward and evolve as a possibility. Say if you were going to become the human embodiment. Put the E at the end, humane. See, the narcissist isn't humane. That's the problem that we have with them. If we ever mention narcissist, we're like, oh, I'm typing. It's like, it's because they are weird. It's just flat weird. If you've ever noticed, and I don't know, really nobody knows what we're saying when we say a narcissist, because that's just a name, and that's something that has come up. We talk about that. The Buddhists zero right in on something called the mind. And so the subject matter comes up big time. It's blooming with Mars is going to be conjuncting Pluto, and it doesn't mean that that's what that aspect means. It just means that there is a heavy-duty triggering going off within the egos and the need for power playing. That's Mars is the ego, and then the Pluto is the need for power playing. Whatever that may be. You know, some people have power only because they're knowledgeable, right? Now, just opened up a book of gray there, because there are two things happening here. You see, there's reality and the truth, and then there's the world full of lies. You want to tear those words apart and look deeper into the words. What I'm doing, what I know how to do with the deciphering out of code, would really help. But because the word world, whenever you see it, is the word word. There is an L there. There R is there that says, you know what, you want to reword this. See, if you put it down, see, the W is there for a reason, and it's profound. See, the W is the same as the M, but when it's facing up, it's two V's. It's two containers. It's holding for two. Woman. See, the woman's world is communications. She must communicate. So if there is a world at all, it's made on that communication, which is waves moving through the sky, you know, however it may resonate. What are we talking about? Well, I don't think she needs to talk about anything until a narcissist is approaching her. And that happens, and that's like, you don't even have to worry about it, right? I've talked about it many times here. It's like you can go and do this and that and this, but eventually these people want something to do with each other, supposedly. I think that women aren't interested as much as men. Now, that's just me, who I go by autobiography, and it's basically peer pressure. It's like, well, I know I'm supposed to find somebody, right? And it should be the opposite sex, but you're not interested at all. I mean, you can tell that they aren't interested. It's like, wait a minute, you know, how do I get interested in somebody that's not even interested in me, right? I mean, it's more like this. Well, I was able to think this way because I was highly perhaps highly sheltered. I didn't see. I had an independent mother. She didn't depend on men for her money to pay her bills. See, this is the thing. This is the trick that I've noticed. It's like, well, my mom, she never hounded my dad for money to pay for her kids. For some reason, she just left it as, well, you either want to participate or you don't. And she ran off to, she can get a welfare check, right? Somehow maybe that's the way that the government was just doing it there. It wasn't so stringent now that they just chop a man's head off and balls and whatever, and try to, or take him to jail because he won't pay, and a woman could be that to actually follow through with that. Shame on you people, you will be stuck in ancestral, real emotional bonds with your children because you really don't know how to live with people. But the narcissist uses people. They must have them there to plug in and feel alive, like they're there. See, we're going to get more and more into this. I would love to, and we can. It's pretty trippy because there are two worlds, and see, there's the world of people and people looking into people, and they really they're just like, yeah, with each other's eyes and stuff. And boy, talk about Mars and Aquarius. Woo! That's the fucking energy you get from these people that have Mars and Aquarius. They're very active with the people. And it's just like, can you get away from people every once in a while? And all they do is talk about people. And see, Aquarius rules the friend's house, the 11th house. So it's about your friends. And so it's the funniest thing. I mean, the basic identity of the Aquarius, whichever planet is there, especially the sun though, and then the moon will go there. Sorry, am I moving this thing? Anyway, they're always about friends. The funniest thing is that they're such loners. They're such individuated people. That's what it rules, is your individual, unique self. That really, they don't like people. Not the selfish kind. They are like the impersonal. Hey, we're just cartoon characters, right? And you accept me, and I accept you. And it's like, no. Wait 40 years for that, Huns. Most of them are 40 years, 35 years ahead of their time. And if you have a rising sign, which your rising sign is your actual sign, it's the sign that was rising at the very time of day that you were born. And then the second thing you look at is the sun, which is your ambitious. And all of your holographic field of the sun and even the planets are filtering through your rising sign, the sign that was rising. That's a science that it's pointing at. It's a holographic field. Anyway, I'll talk to you about that later on. The study about dream state right before sunrise, really, it's more like you go back into and you lucid dream, and you can enter into a plasmatic field that I'm talking about everybody else is dreaming, kind of like. Very powerful. It's a place between 3 and 5 in the morning, or 5:30 or so. Anyway, let's get back into I was talking about through astrology we can look at this stuff, but okay, so your sun is something you want to look at. I'm a Libra sun, but with an Aries rising. You want to look at your rising sign because that's what the sun is filtering through, and that's creating your physical. If you are ambitious, that's what your sun has to go through your rising sign to get it done, baby. And so then the next thing, really, I argue, actually, your moon is more important than the sun because it's moving a little bit slower compared to the sun, though it's moving faster. And it's your daily domestic urges, Cancer, your mother. You see what I'm saying? So you're closer to your mother. All men and women, boy and girl, come out of the mother. Just that's the way it is. Okay. And then next you have the father, which is the sun. The sun is your ego, your ambitions. Like what do you really identify with? Like what your dad would identify with, and that's really trippy because when we're talking about the male and female aspect, anyway, I'll be able to articulate this, combining all of the psychological terminology that we can see and we're observing, really by way of seeing what ends up of boys when they don't get away from their mothers, and versus when they get away and they get into the man's world, and they're all sorted out, and then they meet on a live woman. See, this is really fucking tedious, because there are see, getting back to the condition that could be caused in women. So see, women, if they're sheltered and taken care of, they're not really interested in men more so than just their feelings, right? How do they feel, and how do you maintain a feeling? I mean, the man thing is an illusion. I mean, who are these people? Who do we think we are? Are we not present to reality and the truth, and then figuring out what works there and then feeling great through that? Instead of people, people, people. I know I'm saying something here. See, what we see is an increase. Okay, this conversation is basically non-existent, right? And that's not good. But see, I see an increase. I live in a tourist town, and you can see it. It's like, you know what? It's just people, people, people. It's a trip. It's like, okay, do these people live? They actually live like this? Because you can't live thinking that you are. You can't live non-individuated. That's the problem with narcissism is. In psychological terms, is called individuation, separation. It's a normal thing that must happen, especially with boys to their mother. Also with women, it's the not so much because, but yes, no, everybody needs individuation, separation, and that is that by the time you're age 3, you're working on that. You're getting into your body. You realize I'm not my mother or my father. And see, that's getting dangerous for narcissists. See, narcissists only do good with children. They gravitate towards the children's attention. By the time, see, they'll start having a problem. It depends, like how quickly the child is getting into its own mind and wants to start exercising its own ability to say no and make decisions for itself. That usually happens around about 4 or 5. By that time, you'll see the most disturbing thing that goes on all the time. The narcissist starts to argue with the child, because it's trying to get into its own body and its own. First, it's going to try to get into its own body, which is trying to get up on its feet and move around. But at the same time, if you can imagine, there's this thing going on with the mind. It's really trippy. It's like, is that thing going to take over, or is the body going to take over? And see, the woman, naturally, her body has taken over. I mean, she can't really afford. Naturally, she can't really afford to let her mind take over, because why? Well, you could say she's the weaker one, but I don't say that. I just say, well, yeah, I mean, she's not naturally a bodybuilder. I mean, she could start bodybuilding, and then she could lift 2 men like this and say, well, what's wrong with you people? I can get it myself. You know what I'm saying? But basically, she's going to have to listen to her body, because it actually does something beyond her capacity to even think about it, if we're talking about women giving birth. But having said that, it's just, see, that's the thing, is like, you don't have to be a man to be lost to that. Um, what I mean, to the body, to the way that your bodily experiences, and the body is what teaches your mind, and it's not the other way around. You see, the man is apt to, and there's a whole side of the society that is apt to say, and who knows why it's this way, but I'm going to try and get down to the bottom of it here, the only person doing this, by getting downloads. Why is this the problem that we can hear everywhere, um, that see, a lot of people don't even qualify to get into the mind and say, oh, that's the more powerful thing. No, did you conquer it and get into your body first and learn? Because what does your mind have to do with anything unless it starts learning an actual experience and registering mainly how it learned? How did it go through the process to get to the point of fruition of something useful happening there physically and saying, okay, yes, I got it in the bottle. All right. Instead of just keeping it in your mind and imagining it, and fear, just fear. See, mind is fear when left unseen of itself and not handled like, hey, this is just a cup and I pour something in it. I don't go around trying to, what I mean is like, okay, what they're saying is that the mind controls reality, and you have your own truth, stuff like that. It's like, with the sloppy language. Hardly anybody qualifies to go up there to the upper spectrum and finally say, yes, but your language will change. It's the imagination The imagination is the, what do they say about imagination? What does Shakespeare say? The imagination is blah, 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 blah. But I've recently said, thinking is the enemy to imagination. You can't just merely think and think that you're working with anything. See, you can't activate a good imagination, or say, what's the excellent imagination, or, you can't have it of any use to you. You're just a schizophrenic unless you have worked the truth in reality long enough through experiences in your body, and you're out there screwing around with things, and you've done it a few times, and you begin to break through your mind. You begin to break your mind apart, and you begin to see how you learned. You broke through fear, and you're like, it was like this. It was actually like this, way beyond what I was thinking. Now you're learning beyond the mind. See, there is a philosophy, and this is what I'm saying is my theory is that it's because 80% are mental cases, basically dominated by something that says, no, this is so, this is going to be so. And it's like, no, stop strong-arming shit. And why don't you fucking use your mind? Why don't you use mindfulness? Which, okay, what I really want to say is psychological strength. Stop succumbing to the mind and be strong there. And set an experience right on top of it. And then let it etch itself in there as something very beautiful going on called the truth. And then you're getting wise to something now. And your whole language changes. You start speaking differently. People will notice it. You notice some people that are just purely, they're talking about their careers and their family and and the political part. I mean, I'm not saying that you shouldn't care about your family and express it, but really, it's different with the narcissist. People that are they think they can own each other, and so they say my son, my daughter, my wife, and it's like, would you just have respect? And they don't. You can just tell, and we're outnumbered by that. We can see it. They kind of band up in cliques and droves, and they are very dense within. See, they wouldn't be anything without each other, right? It's no individuation separation, and it's a massive upbringing of that I can see that it's not looking like me, babes. These are like big babies now. They're very, very round, and they move like 6 to 8 at a time, and I'm sorry. I mean, I hate to sound like this terrible thing. I'm just looking at it and like, okay, so but where do I belong? I'm just an individuated person that's capable of loving other people. I really am. See, this is the thing, is that an individuated person, somebody who is different from them, this is the way the narcissist is outcasted even more. Jesus, was that you? Hell yeah, girl! See?